All right, this is off the cuff again. I know it's been a while since I said anything, but I've come to realize, that churches have an entirely different purpose than what they've been serving. And I'm sorry to, sound kind of upset here, but in this day and age, in a capitalist society, the last thing we need is a bunch of people going to church on Sunday and Wednesday, supporting a pastor, the staff, and his family, while people need jobs. And the reason why I say they need jobs, okay, is because in a capitalist society, you have to have money. Okay, I'm just sick of all of this. Christians have got to be poor. Christians can't have more than one car. Christians can't have a 3-bedroom house with a garage and 2 bathrooms, with 4 kids, I'm tired of them. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing that Christians can't own businesses that are profitable. And I'm tired of hearing that a pastor cannot work for a living and buy the things that he wants in a capitalist society, which a Christian, pastors, I don't care who you are, pastors, Christians, elders, deacons, we all have the right to live in America the way everybody else has the right to live in America. Okay? So we need money, which means that we also need jobs. Okay? So some of you pastors that are saying, you don't need that money. You don't need money. You just need to what? Live in the wilderness and cut wood and put it in the fireplace and get a wagon with the wheels and get 2 horses, on land that you have to house them in barns and take care of them. Okay, now I'm all for the Amish, okay, but but most of us are not Amish here, okay. That's got to be understood. So you pastors that are telling your congregations that they should not be making any more money than what they need, you're full of crap. All right. You're teaching these people how to be impoverished, and then they go around complaining about it because that's what their church leader says they have to do. You know what I'm saying? That's not right. All right. Another thing that's not right. All Christians everywhere now, and this is a Catholic doctrine, people. Protestants are teaching a Catholic doctrine. Baptist churches are teaching Catholic doctrines. Kenneth Copeland is teaching a Catholic doctrine. Now, I understand that there are times where we should sacrifice for the greater good. I understand that there are maybe even times where we should die. Okay, but the thing is, we're not doing it in vain. Okay, there is nowhere in the Bible where it says that we cannot defend ourselves. There is a warning in Revelation 13 and 14. And it says, "This is the patience of the saints. Those who take captive will be taken captive. Those who maim will be maimed." It'll be eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Those who kill will be killed. Okay. However, that doesn't say anything about not being able to defend yourselves. That's another thing that really makes me mad. Okay. Um, Decent nations, righteous nations, always set themselves up upon a premise of self defense, not on offensive war and conquest. All right. That's got to be understood. All right. So, on that note, Christians should be well armed. They should be trained on how to fire those weapons. They should be trained how to use bow and arrow. If they should have to, they should be able to fight hand to hand combat. Okay. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says that a Christian can't know how to fight. Okay. There's nowhere in the Bible that says, and I'm sorry for, for what could be considered cussing right now, but I'm kind of mad. There is nothing in the Bible that says that a man needs to be a pussified wimp. There is nothing in the Bible that says he needs to be apathetic towards politics. Okay? And any man who has a wife and children who thinks protecting his household is spraying disinfectant, oh, that'll do her. And he's like 5'2", and he's 90 pounds soaking wet. I mean, come on now. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right, that there's something wrong with the parents there. The parents taught him to be a pussified wimp. That's what he did. All right. Now I'm being careful when I say this, okay, because I'm 58 years old and I was brought up with the same idea. You grow up, you sacrifice, you don't break the law, you don't hurt anybody, and you don't defend yourself either. Okay, that's what I was taught as growing up. All right, I was taught to be a pussified wimp, and you know what? The church is wrong for doing that. Okay, I should have been trained on weapons. I should have been trained on hand-to-hand combat. And y'all know that if you wait till you get in the army to learn how to fight, it's too late. You've got to start learning how to fight when you're 8, 9, 10. It's not going to happen when you're an adult. You're too old at that point. 23 years old, it's too old to learn how to fight. I'm sorry. And then your personality's hardened. It's been hardened by what you've been taught. Churches, you need to stop teaching your boys to be pussified wimps. Okay? It's not all about just going to school and getting an education. And I'm sorry, if you haven't noticed, even Christian children get F's in school. And at that point, if they get F's in school by 6th grade and they're not making a grade, they need to be working in a field. Or they need to be going to a trade school. Or maybe they need to go to ROTC in the military for 5 years. I don't know what needs to happen there, but if they're not learning in school, then I'm sorry, they need to be forced to learn a trade, because it's just a waste of time and money sending them to school if they're not going to make the grade. All right, just a waste of time and money. All right, and all right. So Christians, first thing, your kids, you need to change the doctrine for your kids. All right. There was a movie that I watched, and it was a Clint Eastwood movie, and he was running from the law, and he got into he got into a valley. I think it was in New Mexico or something like that, or maybe it was Texas. I'm not sure exactly which it was. And there was a priest that was sent from the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not a Catholic, so don't get the wrong idea here. Okay. And so he's running from the law, and he comes across this dead priest who was killed by the Indians, and so he says, okay, I think I could use this. And so he takes the priest's garments, and he switches out, and he goes to the nearest town, and he says, I am the priest sent to, preach in your church. And he's preaching sermons on this criminal guy. It was so funny. He's preaching sermons, and he's opening the Bible, and he's teaching the people about the Word of God. And the funniest thing is, this guy didn't even have any. He didn't have authority of God. He did not have the authority of God. Of course, bearing in mind this is a movie. This posse comes out, and they're just looking to make trouble. They're not looking for anybody in particular. They just want to give the church-going folks a hard time. And so what he does is he makes like he doesn't know what he's doing. He picks up a shovel, and he says, "Bam!" And he hits a guy off a horse and says, "Oops, sorry, that was accidental. Are you all right?" And then he picks him up and he punches him out, and he puts him on his horse and sends him out of the area. I was like, wow, that is so cool. You know what I'm saying? We need more pastors like that. There was another movie. I haven't seen this movie yet. I saw the previews, okay, of a pastor and his family. And there was a really, really evil bunch. They were so bad. They didn't want Christianity in town. And so what they did was they found a moment when the pastor's daughter was alone and kidnapped his daughter. And what I know from the previews, okay, this was like an 1800s ranch or something like that, and he was a pastor, and he was giving sermons, and he was, he was really, popular, in the church. These guys didn't want him there. They kidnap her, and, and they fully intended to have their way with her, but he went and got bullets and guns, and he rode his horse until he tracked these guys down, and he killed them all and got his daughter. And that man understood his responsibility both as a pastor, a husband, and a father. A pastor protects his sheep. A father protects his family. And so, being that they kidnapped his daughter and took her far off the scene, he saw it as his right to go get his daughter. And if presented with deadly force, he would kill them and retrieve his daughter. And, those are the kind of people that we need to be looking at. I'm not necessarily saying that they're out to kill anybody. I'm just saying that they're out to be men. You know what I'm saying? And don't come looking at me for an example either. I just know what needs to happen. I know what happened to me. What happened to me does not need to happen to you or any of your children. And what makes me mad is I go to a church. I went to a church about 2 months ago. Okay, I needed help. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at all the unemployment in this town. I'm looking at all the people who don't have cars. I'm looking at all the people who don't have enough. I'm looking at women who have husbands who probably are, ex-cons, and they're going to part-time waitressing positions, and they got to walk to work. Okay? I got into kind of a long-term bind, and people needed me to take them to work, and my car broke down, and so I went to a church with a proposal because I need to have a nonprofit cover. Granted, the business that would be running, it would be for profit, but would be under a nonprofit cover. And then not only that, if people needed something, I would be able to bring them to the church. You see what I'm saying? And then not only that, I would be able to hire people in the church to be able to work who might be unemployed. You know what I'm saying? And as it turns out, they don't want a for-profit enterprise working under their nonprofit organization. I said, we'll have to pay their taxes. They're self-employed. But we'll be operating under your nonprofit, and I will pay taxes on all the income, and then I will pay you however much money a month that turned out to be. I did an entire budget. I did the taxes and everything like that. I said, this is how it would be. This is what it would look like, assuming that everybody got 20 rides a day. You know what I'm saying? And so they looked at it and said, oh, okay, it's nonprofit. And I said, no, you're the nonprofit organization. This is a for-profit enterprise, but I need a covering. Of course, I also needed cars, but I needed people that were willing to, were willing to put themselves out there because they might have been unemployed or something like that. And then not only that, it would be the church actually being involved in the community and helping people where they need to be helped the most. Okay? With a ride, And then the church also has some responsibility in understanding what people's needs are and meeting them where they are. One of those ways is through a taxi service. And six good men and women would be able to go to every square inch of this city and find everybody that has needs and help them. And they go in the lightest parts of the areas, they go in the darkest parts, and they'll know who to stay away from and who not to give rides to. That's what they'll learn. But they'll also learn who needs help and be able to offer resources for them. See, I can't do that without a church. And so instead, so I presented my proposal to the guy, and he said, well, it's not nonprofit. And then when I said, you're the nonprofit organization, I didn't hear from the guy again. I didn't go back to the church again. Now, I'm sorry, and it is not, and I want to make things clear here, all right? It is not the government's responsibility to take care of the poor. It is not the government's responsibility to make sure that the poor are healthy, fed, and taken care of health-wise. It's not. It simply isn't. That falls on the church. All right? It's not Medicare Part B and Part D and Part C and whatever else it is. Okay? It just isn't. Okay? It's not on the Social Security Administration. It's not on doctors to provide free health care and drugs that are going to poison people. It's up to the church to have people, to have experts in there, probably, who understand, herbs, and could probably put together some herbs, to provide decent treatment for people. All right. There could be people in the church who are experts. They're carpenters, they're painters, they're plumbers, they're mechanics, or whatever. They're Christians. Okay. They should be hiring people as Christians. All right. And the church isn't going to be hurt by that because the employers are going to be giving a percentage of their income to the church, from the business that they make by hiring folks. Now, hopefully, by hiring folks, it will give people an understanding that we're doing this as a Christian. We're giving you a job, and so we expect you to observe specific rules and lay down the rules. If you have any other questions outside of that, great. You can ask me, or you can call this number over here, which would be a church. But the Christian should be ready and available with an answer. But I mean, we got to do something about this pussified wimp shit. I'm sorry to say it that way, but you've got to stop teaching this. Churches have got to have a training camp or something outside where they're learning how to box, where they're giving karate lessons, where they've got to have, like a farm or something like that, where they can take their kids and they can learn farming for maybe a summer. And that's how, wealthy parents used to teach their children. Like Ernest Hemingway. They didn't think Ernest Hemingway was going to be much of anything at all. His wealthy parents, though, took their kids during the summer to the farm where they worked the entire summer. I mean, it was vacation, to them, but that is what they did to learn about plumbing and farming and repairing, like a house or a wagon, or feeding horses, feeding and taking care of horses. Just basically how to survive on a farm. Fixing and repairing machinery. That's how Ernest Hemingway got his start, was through his parents and on the farm. And he made millions of dollars on his books, traveling and writing about his experiences. And he also wrote, he wrote some pretty good fiction books too. And so churches, you have got to change. You've got to stop doing what you're doing. You're damaging your congregation. You're making them believe that if they give money to the pastor, to the church, and then the church turns around and puts it in some worldwide mission in Zimbabwe or something like that, that God is going to bless you for your effort. Well, I want to be the first one to inform you that money is probably not going to a missionary in Zimbabwe, first of all. Second of all, it's probably going into somebody else's pockets. And then you're going to get fake reports, and then you don't want to look into it because you don't want to question your pastor. Well, I'm sorry, he's a man like everybody else, and I have seen pastors rob entire congregations blind. And I saw one go to jail because he gave a missionary $1 million of congregation's money, and he ripped them off. He didn't go, feed people. He didn't provide Bibles for them. He didn't open a church. You people are being led astray. So I'm proposing to you churches, you churches Nazarenes, you're a political body. You refuse to hear anything outside of your church regarding politics or any of that, because you have this tax exemption, from the federal government, which keeps you from talking about politics. And you've got government agents in there making sure that you don't talk about politics, because they'll take your grant money, they'll take your tax-free, your tax-exempt status from you. Okay? And so anybody who wants to call you and talk to you about something political that could affect religion or your church, you promptly hang up on them. How stupid are you? So not only are you useless to your congregation, because now all they do is come into your pew, sit like a lump on a log in the pew there, and fall asleep listening to some guy talk, and then have their kids go to a Sunday school in which they're not going to learn anything, and then come in Wednesday night. I'm sorry, it's not doing anybody any good. You need to be producing businesses out of your church, and you need to be hiring Christians. Now, I know that some of us don't agree with what the LDS Church is doing. We don't agree with what the Catholic Church is doing. But you know what they're doing? They're doing exactly what we should be doing. The LDS Church has an unemployment service in Salt Lake City. Okay, I haven't been to the LDS Church here. Okay, but in Salt Lake City and in Ogden, Utah, they have an unemployment service at the LDS Church. Okay, they have a counseling service at the LDS Church. Okay, they also have people that go to the church who are contractors, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, masons, you name it. They hire out of the church. Catholic Church takes in drug rehab folks, and they train them on how to run thrift stores. People bring in their donations, and then those donations get cleaned up, put on the floor, and they're sold. And where does the money go? It goes into the rehab facility. And so, I mean, it's just an amazing thing that, that the Catholic Church is doing. And so what is the Christian church doing? It builds a building for people to come twice a week. We've got one church that nearly pushed a block of people living in apartments out of their homes so that they could take up 4 blocks for their church along with the parking lot. It's not for a reach out. It's not for a reach out to non-Christians, in the love of Jesus Christ. It's a fortress. It's a walled fortress. So you churches need to stop what you're doing. What you're doing is ridiculous. All right? I mean, if I want to have, if I want to have a ministry with a cab service, I wouldn't be able to do it because I don't have a church covering. I don't have anywhere for people to go. I'm not a pastor. I believe that I have the ability to be a missionary in my own city if I could with the taxi service. But I don't have any churches that fit the requirement. What are you going to do for these people when they go to your church? Are you going to give them a job? Are you going to feed them? Are you going to clothe them? Are you going to take care of their kids? What are you doing for them? Oh, no, we're not going to give you any money. We're not going to help you. We're not going to put you up in a house, that we're not going to put you up in a, I mean, are you buying up, say duplexes? Are you buying up, fourplexes? so that people could live in there. Okay. I mean, it's non-governmental. You can say it's church property, and you can put people in there. And it's like, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? Okay, and maybe I'm saying this, maybe I'm doing this video in vain. Okay, but I cannot fulfill my commission unless the church is fulfilling its commission. Now I need 6 cars. I need 6 Christian drivers who know how to talk to people, who understand when to help and when to not help, and when to keep their mouth shut and when to pray for people. I need to know. I need these people. I'll set them up. I'll put them in business, for themselves, and then make them a part of a co-op, and then they'll just have to, we'll charge $9 a ride, and they'll just give $4 to the co-op, or $3 to the co-op, and they'll keep $6 each for themselves. And that's for gas. That's plenty for gas and maintenance and tires and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm saying. But I need a church. Okay. I also need to give a class on how women trap you into doing things for them that you shouldn't be doing. And I also need to give you a class on how to avoid drug dealers and the things that they do to entrap you into doing things for them because, they're your customer. And you just don't do that. You block those people. Okay. But I still have people that need me, and it's been a year now, and I can't get a car yet because I'm in financial. I have financial things I got to clear up. So I don't know what else to say here. I'm looking at all the churches here, and they're worthless.